there's a lot of work to being the person to support the dream. I want to acknowledge that I'm aware of that. And I think that not everybody is aware of that. Just how much work it is to be the one picking up the slack for the person who's chasing after the dream. To the Dream Chasers podcast. I am Samantha Ainsworth, and I have the best guest that I will probably have ever, unless some famous people come in. But thus far, my guest today is Mr. Bruce Storykamp, who is the co-owner of Pip Lola's Everything Homemade. He is a former elementary school teacher. He is currently an instructor in adaptive technologies at BVRS, and he also happens to be my husband. So that's just an aside. Beside the point, he happens to be my husband. So, Sammy, why do you have your husband on your podcast? Well, because today's discussion is going to be what it's like to chase somebody who's chasing the dream. So that's why I have you here today. So, I'm going to read the poem.
Okay.
I am going to make you talk.
I know you are. It's fine.
At some point. I voluntold Bruce. I messaged him a couple weeks ago. We weren't in the same space. And I was actually scheduling a couple of other folks to be on. And I was like, it's one thing to be the one chasing the dream. It's another thing to be the one supporting. And we frequently joke that Bruce is the standard by which all other husbands are measured, and they usually come short. We joke that it's your job to make other husbands look bad. So
it's a life goal.
It is a life goal. But there's a lot of work to being the person to support the dream. And so, right. I want to honor you for that. But also, I want to acknowledge that I'm aware of that. And I think that not everybody is aware of that. Just how much work it is to be the one picking up the slack for the person who's chasing after the dream. Mm-hmm. So there's that. So I'm going to do my dramatic interpretation of the inspirational poem behind the podcast. For those of you who are brand new to us, we do read this poem every time. I was in the shower, which is where all my good ideas come, which he will attest to because I will scream them across the house.
That's very true.
Babe, I just had this idea. So I was in the shower and this poem came to me, which is the inspiration behind our podcast. Harlem by Langston Hughes. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? So, the Bruce.
Yes.
When you think of dream chasing, what does that mean to you?
That's a hard one in general, just because I know some people are very much, they have a goal, a target, something they have to achieve. And for you, it's like really hefty, lofty goals. I have been much more smaller ones. If I'm thinking dream chasing, I'm like, what is it for this month? What is it for this year? It's just, something that I find, for me at least, if it's dream chasing, something I want to attain for that time period.
Right.
Not necessarily for life goals, but just for smaller periodic ones.
You are not a really competitive human.
No, I am the least competitive human in the world. I like sports. Sure, I can do them. Do I care if I win? Not at all. Actually, there's a story that I've talked about before. With a group of friends from college, we used to play games all the time. And another one of my friends, Milton, if you ever hear this is for you, he is also the least competitive person in the sense that he didn't care if he won. So when we would play board games as a group, we would get together and he and I would have a little side competition, like, I'm not going to win, but I'm going to make that person win. He's like, no, I'm going to make this person win. And we piss off everybody else in the game because we're competing, to make our person win versus really caring if we won, which we didn't.
That's awesome. You were also extremely good at supporting other folks. And not just me. Like, if you come to him and you're like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing, he'll be like, cool, let's figure out how to make this work. And he'll do that for you. I can hear my own echo, which is a little strange. I'm in the headset over there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My voice carries.
Super hearing skills, by the way.
Yeah. Sometimes when you
skill.
get pregnant, your hearing ramps up, and sometimes 15 years later, it hasn't gone back down. Right. So I can hear fans, and I can hear my voice coming through that headset over there, and I can hear lights, and it's obnoxious.
Sorry.
For me, what has been remarkable, because I don't know if y'all know this, but I've been married before a couple times.
She hasn't been. I'm the first and only. No others. At least that's what we tell ourselves.
Yeah, we've been together almost 14 years.
Yeah.
But in previous relationships, and this is not to rip on previous relationships, but in previous relationships, either the other person and I were doing much the same things, or we weren't doing any of the same things, and they just did not understand,
right,
A, my drive, or B, why I wanted to do the things. So that was frequently a problem. My nose has been randomly bleeding, so if I just start bleeding, ignore that. Sorry. I have like a boo-boo or something happening in my nose. You don't have any of that same drive to do the big things.
Right.
However, there's a part of you that seems to understand my need to do those things. So, in the 14 years we've been together, like all of a sudden we owned a soap company, which neither of us had any idea that we wanted to do, or he just kind of, I'm like, hey, we're doing this, and he's like, all right, I guess we're doing this now. But on your angle, so like, and I want you to be like 100% honest about this, even if this makes me sound like an asshole. Like, when I volunteer you for things. Right. And today can be included in that.
Oh, today's very much a voluntold, but that's okay.
Today can be included in that conversation. But like, from your angle, like, what does it do for you or not do for you when I come home and announce some crazy ass idea that I have, or hey, I'm going to go to New York for 8 days, or whatever. What is that thought process that happens for you to either get to the point of being okay with that idea, or that you're okay in the first place? Right.
Well, years ago, as you and I were talking about this, just about the whole wanting to be an actor and such, I love the idea of it because I look at it like, your skill is fantastic. I want you to be out there doing it because this is what you should be doing. If I can help push that forward, awesome. That's always made sense to me, just because, that's what I want to do. Is to kind of help lift people up in general. It just happens that it's you, which makes it even better. I do find it funny, like I often do get, the whole voluntold concept. And that is a very, very strange thing, because I go, oh, we're doing what today? Okay. And sometimes it is very much like, well, that's a thing, and we'll see what happens. And other times it's like, cool, that'll be interesting.
Because I know that when we did the web series, I was so excited about it in the beginning. I don't think I fully comprehended how much you hated it.
I didn't hate it. It was just weird. It didn't fit me, but of course it puts me in front of the camera.
Right.
Oh, wait. Here I am in front of the camera again.
But this is less about the camera, and it's more about the mic.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
But our relationship started with me telling you to do something. No, I asked you. I did ask.
You did not tell me when we started, because we weren't together at that point in time.
So we met at a callback.
Right.
Because Bruce does act. Like, don't let him bullshit you. Like, he does act, and he's a really, really good singer. So I can sing. This man can sing. Baritone bass. It's ridiculous how glorious it is. But it obviously, like, for you, it's fun.
Right.
Whereas I tend to take it a little bit more seriously than maybe it needs to be taken.
Well, for me, acting is play.
Right.
Because it is. It's fun. I like doing the community theater. I like doing the children's theater. I like just enjoying it for, hey, this is a cool thing to do at the moment.
Right.
Not necessarily that this is what I want to be. Right. I've always had things I wanted to be. And an actor was actually never one of them. Right. I just enjoyed doing it.
Right. So that's how we met.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months later, I hate being scared of shit. Like, I hate it. Like, I hate being scared of shit. And so I had decided, because I'm not a fan of singing by myself. I'll do it. I don't like it, especially if there's no mic involved. If I have a band and a mic, I can do whatever.
But a mic in hand, not just mic in front.
No, mic in hand, drummer behind me. Like, you want me to sing what? Yeah, anything. I can sing anything with a mic in my hand and a drummer behind me. But without that, I admittedly feel lost and very exposed, and not in good ways. So I was sick and tired of being scared of this thing, and so I decided I was going to produce a musical, and so I decided to produce The Last 5 Years, and because it was the hardest part I could think of that was in my range that I thought I could pull off, ish, and so I had not at that point heard you sing ever.
Okay, and I had not heard the show,
right?
So I don't know anything about
it. But I had heard that you sing,
right.
I'd not heard you sing, but I'd heard that you sing. And so I went to him and I was like, hey, do you want to do this musical with me? And he's like, okay.
I mean, it was less dopey as that, but it kind of was actually. It was probably just like that, so it's
like,
fine.
Sure.
Yeah, all right.
So we ended up producing this musical together, which was like the first, and that just kind of is how it started. And then the soap company happened, and then the web series happened, and then we had the theater company for half a second, and we did a couple of like fake Tony Awards. Like, we did one for my birthday when I turned 40, and then we did another one for our wedding.
That was great.
Our wedding was great.
It was the likely only annual Sammy Awards.
Right, which was awards you didn't want to win.
Yeah. Worst things ever, like, best use of a handbag, or
best tantrum.
Were you in that show? Best paraphraser. That's me.
You in that twice, didn't you?
I did one best paraphraser twice, but I can do it in verse, so it's fine. I can learn my lines. I just choose not to.
Ish. You can learn his lines. Ish. Whereas I try so hard to be like verbatim.
Yeah.
I try to like I'll mess with punctuation,
right.
But like the
tone,
words,
pattern, whatnot.
Yeah, but no. Anyway, so that was like the first time I had sort of voluntold you for something, and it's been 14 years of that.
Yeah. I mean, not just that.
Yes. But so okay. There have been times, like in our marriage, where I've been gone for months.
Right.
And like, each one gets a little bit easier. Because like the first couple, especially like the first time I was gone for like, what was it, 4 months?
Something like that, yeah.
There was a lot of crying. Mostly me. There was a lot of crying. But from your aspect of it, like, how did that go for you? Like, I mean, I realized like you had to pick up my workload, but also I know people said shit,
mm-hmm.
Because I would hear things like, oh, well, you're so lucky that your husband lets you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I know that if I was hearing shit, you were probably hearing shit. So what kind of shit were you hearing?
The funny part is I almost never did.
Really?
Really.
Great, I got all of it.
Of course not, because there's this stupid inherent level of sexism, obviously, that we know pervades our country. And as the guy, you see this all the time. Oh, it's so nice the dad's doing the things. It's nice of you to help with your wife. It's like, no, there's two parents involved. We both do these things. It's not the wife has 69 or 92% of the child rearing, and the guy just takes the few seconds he has to. So when you were leaving and you would go off and do things, I almost never got, how could you do that? Why is it so bad? It was like, oh, okay, cool. But I think it's because they wouldn't approach me about it.
They definitely approached me about it.
Right. Again, there's that sexism coming in on that. It's like the expectation that, the wife should be helping. Like,
well, who's going to watch your kids?
Right. Me.
Yeah.
I'm capable of doing so. I actually do have a brain. I keep it in a box under the bed sometimes.
Oh, okay. Because I haven't seen it.
No, not really.
I don't go looking, though. I don't know where anything is in that
Good
house.
call. You don't want that. No, I actually, honestly, for me, I didn't get a lot of pushback with it just because I think, again, people were probably like, oh, that's really cool you're doing that. I'm like, had they said it to me, it's not that it was cool. It's just that, like, no, I'm just the parent at home at the moment. That's not an issue. That's what it is. Like, personally, especially like in the first ones, it was weird in general because I had gone from having no kids for a while. I mean, no kids at home, I should say,
Right.
To suddenly there's children at home. And so like, oh, I'm in charge. Right. Okay. And that was a learning experience for me, which is perfectly fine. I had no issue with that part. It was just unusual. It was just a life shift, but it wasn't anything bad. It wasn't anything traumatic. It was just like, all right, that's where we're at. It's cool.
Between us, we have 8.
There's a small army of them. It is kind of ridiculous.
And at some point, one of them is not speaking to me. Well, usually me, because I'm the mouthy one.
Translates back and forth. And
right. So, but 5 of them are biologically mine.
Mm-hmm. One is biologically mine.
Mine's biologically yours, and then we adopted 2.
Right.
So,
because 6 wasn't enough. And as we know, with the TV show, 8 was.
8 was enough.
Definitely enough.
8 is 100% enough. Especially since I am not, I'm not maternal. Like, I love them.
It's me.
He's very maternal. Like if they're not feeling great, it's like, I will love on you, but go over there. Like, he'll take care of you. Which is funny because, like, they say there's no gender, like, people try to say there's no gender roles. I mean, there are, like, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Right.
Like, someone should be maternal, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a mom.
That's less a gender role. That's a personality type.
Yeah, that's true. I always said that I'm type A and you're from Oregon. He's from the West Coast.
Fair.
He'll get it done eventually. Like, you just have to wait a minute or 30. It's fine. So yeah, so I was curious about that because I know how much pushback I've gotten and continue to get.
Yeah, it's always been strange for me because I normally don't get that particular reaction to it.
Yeah.
But again, I think people wouldn't say it to me.
Right. Well, they all think you're a saint for putting up with my shit anyway.
Well, I mean, stigmata and whatnot and all this. No, we're good.
No, I have that's from the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was curious about that because it's not that we never talk about my being gone or the complications of my being gone, but we've never really talked about societally what that means for you. Right.
I don't know. It's strange. There really hasn't been a huge towards me, but I hear that you get it, and that's frustrating to me because I wish people would realize that. You know, it's first off, it's not appropriate to say, "Hey, so nice your husband lets you do this shit." Pardon me, I swear all the time.
Oh no, he's
okay,
no,
cool,
that's
good.
Okay.
But just that whole, seeing that, where people say it's nice your husband lets you. I don't let you do anything. It's not. It's not my job to let you. It's not anybody's job to let somebody do that. And so it's frustrating that you have to hear that part.
Right.
Thankfully, I don't hear it for me, so I don't pound somebody because it really pissed me off.
Right. Again, like in previous relationships, even though I would have come into it, usually having met them on a film set, on a show, on something artistic, the fact that I would continue to do it after we were together. Like, it seemed to blow their minds. Like, well, but we're married now, so you should stop doing those things. It's like, why would you expect me to change this major part of who I am as a human just because we're together?
Yep. And unfortunately, you do see that a lot too.
Yeah, no, I see it all the time. And I will fully admit that every time I see one of my female friends whose careers are starting to take off, suddenly they're getting engaged. Even like if they've been with somebody for like years and years and years, but now their career's taking off and all of a sudden dude feels the need to propose, that like hits my chest, and like I have a really hard time congratulating them for them because I because of what I've seen and because of what I know and because I know what's normal. I know that that's a manipulative act.
Frequently. It may not always be.
It may not always be.
There's
it may not always be, but I feel like it is because and looking back at those folks that I know that whose careers are like about to like really launch, and then all of a sudden they're married, and all of a sudden there's babies, and they're not doing anything anymore, or they're just doing community theater.
Right.
Which, not that there's anything wrong with that, but that wasn't the path they were headed on. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden that's where they are, and it's like, and I realize, and I'm extraordinarily grateful for what the anomaly that you are. And we both recognize that we are not perfect humans. Well,
yeah, I'd flip the hair.
He
but
flipped
I
the
don't
hair
have
if he still
anymore.
had it. I flipped it for him.
I can't flip.
Well,
the
we've
hair.
all got our issues, right? Like you have time frame problems, and
I know nothing what you
I
speak.
can't relax. So that's the other thing. But outside of those minor imperfections, other than saying, "Can we afford it?" Mm-hmm. You have never said no.
Right.
And I usually come to you and I ask.
You do.
Out of respect.
Right. Which I appreciate.
Right. Especially now that I'm trying to do this crazy TV thing. Mm-hmm. So, question one's always, can we afford it? No.
Because that's a huge one for us right now.
We cannot. But like, we'll figure it out. And so I tend to try to do them as cheaply as possible. Like, I just did, 8 days in New York? And in total, I was in New York 8 days because I have some wonderful friends that live, that are like family. So I tend to refer to them as my sisters, that live in Brooklyn and let me crash on the couch. So I was in New York for 8 days. I was crashing on their couch and taking the subway everywhere and eating as little as possible, like going to Duane Reade and like grabbing food there and street carts and things. I think I spent a whopping total of $300.
Right. Which is amazing for being there for.
Right. And part of that was the train. Because if you get your train tickets ahead of time, it's relatively cheap. But $300 for us is it's a chunk.
Yeah.
So but we made it work, and it's not always easy. Like some of these classes I've been taking, it's starting to get expensive. It's not always easy, but we figure out ways to make it work.
Right.
But you've never once, in spite of the fact that it's been tricky sometimes, you've never told me or acted in any way or insinuated that the things that I'm doing were a waste of time or money.
Well, no. I mean, because that's not, if it's leading towards, getting you to what you want to be, to what you want to do, and it all has a positive effect, it's not a waste of time or money. It's just a matter of, it just makes things tight.
Yeah.
Because we may have times we go, oh God, we suddenly don't have that extra $500 that just came out because of some payment that went through. Right. But on the whole, we've managed to get through by the grace of luck and friends and family, and thank you to those people.
Yeah.
But really, like it's the long game.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people they want instant. I want a get quick. I need this hit right now.
Right.
And I very much like to look at things from if I'm doing this here, down the road, where's it going to get us to?
Right. I mean, even like the podcast, like you wouldn't think it, but the podcast costs me about $150 a month, something just to do the podcast, and like in a way, like it's I don't want to say it's a waste because I feel like these are important conversations to have, because I think so often that people think that dreams are only huge and that they're only valid if they're achieved.
Right.
But I think that just the pursuing of a dream, even if you don't get all the way there, is valid. And
absolutely
right. And I think people forget that your little thing, whatever your little thing was, to somebody is a huge big deal. Because I know I do it. Like so Bruce and I had this soap business for 12 years.
12 years now, yeah.
And at one point we had 3 locations, and in 2 years we went from 1 location to 3 locations to none.
Yep.
And there was a lawsuit due to not so awesome landlords, and which we're still dealing with. Mm-hmm. Like I actually just got an email from our attorney.
Yay.
And it is entirely possible that we might lose our house. Like we're trying not to,
right?
But it's possible. I mean, it's possible. And this was a thing. Like that location was my idea. And there was some hesitation. There was some hesitation on your part. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think for the most part, your hesitation was because the rent was double homestead. I'm like, yeah, but I had done all the math. I'm like, okay, so the rent's double. However, this is what that street's average foot traffic is versus the average foot traffic of where we were. And this is what I was told our expenses were going to be. And so like I had done all the numbers, and on paper it should have worked, except for there was a lot of deceit on what our expenses were actually going to be.
That's true. And
what the foot traffic was actually going to be. And I am a trusting soul. So now, we're on the verge of losing everything, which really sucks. But not once has he ever said, I told you we shouldn't have done this. And I'm very grateful for that. Because I'm already beating myself up a lot. A lot. But, okay, so all of this is happening. This is all like collapsing around my ears. And I say mine because, yes, you were on it. Mm. But the bulk of the...
Right. The more business aspects of it were yours.
Were mine, yeah.
I was the pretty face up front. That was pretty much
he was the pretty face at markets and in the stores. And I was sort of like the online... visual, and I did all of you did all the grunt work, I did all the brain work. Not that you're not capable of brain work.
Right, but that's just how that
right. That's how I was the one who made 95% of the product. Personally, personally manufactured most of the product. So I very much appreciate the fact that you never once I told you so at me.
Nope.
Because who expects how that went down?
Right.
When I tell people how that went down, everyone's like, that doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense how it all went down. So, because of the just complete shady nature of how it all happened. So, but there's this thing in my brain that's like, you've been running this company for 12 years. You should have known.
Except that neither of us are business people. Neither of us have a background in that. The fact that I
have a theater degree.
Right. Elementary teacher. Come on.
Right.
And my anthro degree is very important. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you about the Australopithecine and how it helps the soap industry. No. Not going to do much good. But, for what we achieved in that time period was amazing. And again, wasn't necessarily a dream, but it was something that we did pursue.
Right.
So we're like, okay, let's see where this goes. It went as far as it did. Right. And at that point in time, it's like, all right, well, I guess that's it. And neither of us really had the urge to pursue it further. And then, of course, this mess is going on right now. So it just makes sense. So all right, new dream, move forward.
So actually, we don't lose our house.
That goes back to what you were saying earlier. You were asking about or you were talking about how dream chasing is not just about the achievement of the dream, but it's the actual process there.
Right. Which also I have to remind myself of. I did start this podcast as the lawsuit was starting.
Right.
It was the lawsuit was one of the driving forces behind me wanting to sort of analyze this thing, and I think that's normal, right? I think it's normal that when someone's going through a thing, you'll discover all of a sudden people are like, oh, I'm really interested in this particular cause. It's because it affected them personally in some way.
Absolutely.
And for it not having been a dream, I will fully admit that I get so wrapped up in but I can.
Right. But that also goes back to continuing it. Because you did, but I could do this, I could do that, he could do these things. But then when I asked you,
do you want to?
Right. Because if you don't want to, yes, you can push, but all you're going to do is drive yourself crazy because that is a path you can take. But the path you want to take is over there.
Yeah.
So get off that damn first path, take that path you
Well,
want to take.
and I try to integrate the two as often as possible.
Right.
Right. I try to integrate them.
But
Our screen just went blank. I hope that's okay.
It's really strange. Oh, there
I
it
hope
is.
that's
It's
okay.
back.
Oh dear.
We're back.
We're back. It's okay. Sometimes there's tech issues.
But that path of can-would integrating is great as long as you keep the focus on the want. Because yes, you can, but if the integration of it still drags you too far away from the path you want to go to, then the can is taking away from the dream.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which again, still going back to what I was trying to say, on the path being the important, whether or not you achieve the dream. Something that I find interesting on that idea is like people go, I didn't achieve it, I failed. But if you went X period of time, if you took a dream, say you wanted to, I don't know, be an amazing painter, and you spent years practicing it, and you're still having other things in your life you're doing, but you're painting, and you didn't ever achieve that level you wanted to. You said, oh, I failed. But look at all the work you've achieved in that time period. Mm-hmm. Look at all the things you put out, all the skills you increased on. Every single one of those is a win.
Yeah.
So it's not a series of failures. It's a series of advancements. Each advancement is a win. And so that's, in some ways, that's the benefit of dream chasing is you're constantly making that small improvement. You're constantly having the small wins as long as you remember every step is a win because you could be walking backwards.
Right. Or staying stagnant.
Yeah.
Which
Sinking. Ooh, quicksand. But we don't have that around.
We don't.
You see that meme all
the
time?
We all thought that quicksand was going to be a much bigger thing. Mm-hmm. We really did.
It's not there.
It's not. Like any child in the 70s, we thought quicksand was going to be a massive problem because it was in everything, huh?
Yeah. That was just the random thought in my head.
He does that. He's like, squirrel. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so funny because with other people, I'm so quick to remind them. It's like, but look what you did accomplish. Mm-hmm. I'm so quick to remind them
and you are not quick to remind yourself of that. You're like, here's a wall. Let me beat my head upon it. But I haven't done this. I'm like, but you have done X, Y, Z. Here's your list. Let me get the 5,000-foot scroll of things you have achieved.
Right.
And that's the hardest part. Actually, I would say that's probably one of the hardest parts of being a supporter is it's not the shooting in the foot, but the sort of self-replication. You're going, but I didn't do these things. And
my birthday was this week. And I am, there's a nasty combination between being as driven as I am, having that nasty German accent in the back of my head telling me all the time that I'm a loser and I'm lazy, and having a birthday on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's just it's such a bad combo. I spend the entire day. I haven't done a thing with my life, and then people who have not done as many things as I have take that as some kind of a judgment against them.
They feel reproached by that. Yeah.
Like, listen, I do not anticipate, want, desire anyone else to have the same crazy drive that I have because I realize it's going to kill me someday. And I make that reference all the time. I'm like, I'm going to do this if it kills me because it's probably going to. My stress likes to manifest itself in stroke-like symptoms and weird migraines. But I don't do that to other people. But I think when people see me beat myself up for it, I think that they do take that as some kind of, reprimand of what they have or have not done. And I don't absolutely do not mean it that way.
You do get a lot of pushback on that, which is interesting to see. It's
I get so much pushback.
You do. It is very odd because, like, for me, on social media, we see this all the time where you have people saying, well, you make me feel bad because of X, Y, or Z. And I bite my tongue a lot because I frequently want to just tell people, dude, just chill out. Because people get on your case a lot about you do so much. I'm like, well, you do what you want to do, but people have such harsh judgments on that because they don't understand how anybody could do that. And it's not.
But did you notice when I was killing myself with the soap store, they were not doing that?
No, because they were benefiting.
Because they were benefiting.
They were.
But if I were to, and because I'm about to, if I were to pursue my acting career with the same 16-hour day insanity, losing as much money as I was doing on the soaps. People would say that I was chasing a pipe dream and that I was ridiculous and I was making a fool of myself. But if I did it with the soaps, because I make really damn good soap.
You do?
That was okay. Like, there were some folks who very much seemed okay with it killing me, like literally, as long as they got theirs. And that was a really hard realization, especially in the last couple of months. Like, some folks have been incredibly supportive, and they're like, if you need to get out, you get out. And some folks have been like, but what am I supposed to do?
Right. And that's unfortunate, because there's a level of, I don't want to say self-unawareness, but
there's definitely a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Plus, but I also think that people thought that we were bigger than we were.
Right. We're tiny.
We're tiny. I don't think people realize that literally I make...
Local people knew that.
Yeah.
But like, anybody who weren't in our direct group would have no clue, because they see, here's the store, here's all the stuff they produce. They make so much soap. They make deodorants and they wouldn't have a clue. They'd be like, there's no way that one person or 1.5 people or 2 people could even do this. This has definitely got to be like a 10-person company at least.
No.
So.
It was easier when we had all the employees.
Right.
Because at one point we had 8. That was a lot easier.
A lot of part-timers.
But even having someone else to cut the soap.
Yep. Cut it, stack it, help wrap it,
stack it,
things,
wrap it. Oh God, like just that. And just having help with that was huge.
It's just a lot of manpower, a lot of hours.
Right. And so and now I have some wonderful folks who are just coming in, like seriously volunteering their time because they just see how just exhausted I am, which I appreciate a lot. I do. I mean, and I don't want to diminish what those folks have done, because those folks have been amazing. But if I were to ask for that kind of help for the acting stuff, people would, no way. Which is, and I don't know why. I'm not sure what it is about world or society where they think, oh, this is something that some people do as a hobby. Therefore, people who are doing it as a job are somehow deluded and don't deserve the same help and support.
Right.
I'm not sure why that is, but you see it all the time.
But also, a lot of people, when they think actor, things like that, they think, who's your megastar? They get millions of dollars and whatnot. Nobody, when they think actor, think of the real actor careers, they don't think of, who's this person that always plays the third character from the right, the support character who plays the nurse or plays the doctor who shows up for 3 episodes and leaves.
Oh my God, during the strike, oh my God. Yeah. Some of the folks during the strike, some of the comments that I would see, even from other actors, which is what was killing me. Even from other actors, are like, well, actors are selfish and actors want this, that, and the other. It's like, you don't understand. If you get 3 jobs a year, if you get 3 jobs a year, you are fucking lucky.
Yep.
And then those are like little one-day co-star things. If you get 3 co-star things a year, you are fucking lucky. And those 3 co-star things, if you're on set one day, 3 co-star things, you may have made $4,000 that year.
Yep. Right?
So residuals are like how you get through your life. Because there is an expectation when you're an actor that you will take classes and you will have these headshots and you will have this equipment to do your self-tapes, and that you will be able to travel to auditions, or you will have really good internet at home so you can do Zoom auditions. Right. And that you will be able to drop everything so that tomorrow you can be in New York City to do this thing. And so it's really hard to have a day job while you're trying to do all these other things at the same time. Yep. And you have to eat and pay your mortgage and live. And if the expectation is that you're going to live in one of these markets, have you priced New York City? Have you priced Los Angeles? Have you priced Chicago or Atlanta? Because Atlanta's gotten insanely expensive. Yep. Because it's expensive to live those places, because that's where people have to be, right? And so then you get all this pushback from folks who are like, well, then get a real job. Okay, This is a real job, guys. And it's not just, and the thing is acting does not just affect the actors. right? It's not just because I want you to look at me and I want to be famous and I want to like walk a red carpet, but there's also costumers, and then there's PAs, and then there's the guy who's in charge of driving the van around to bring everybody to the place on set that they're supposed to be, because the set is not just in one room, it's sometimes an entire town. You know, like when we were shooting American Rust, like Charleroi was taken over. Not Charleroi, Monessen was taken over. Like the whole damn town was taken over, and there were, you know, tents everywhere. There were trucks everywhere, and there were like the honey wagons were like, it was just everywhere. It was, the whole town was taken over, and so you have to have people like manning all of those things. Like there's a lot of jobs involved, and if the actors can't work, those people can't work. And you're going to tell me a truck driver's not a real job? You're going to tell me that like catering's not a real job? Come on, guys. But a lot of people don't think of it that way. They just think, well, you know, Robert Downey Jr. makes a lot of money, and you know, what's her name? Jennifer Lawrence is making a shit ton of money right now. So therefore, all actors are making a shit ton of money. The most money I've ever made in a year as an actor was 2 years ago, and that was what, 20?
Yeah, about 20.
20. And the only reason I made that much is because there was Patrick Connor, because I got bumped from my first day. I was supposed to be on set 2 days. That show was supposed to make me $2,500. That's all I was supposed to make on that show. But because I got bumped, and there was like SAG rules about like if there's so many days between the times that you're on set, they have to pay you for all that interim stuff. And so I was supposed to be in 2 consecutive days, but my first day they never could get to me because of some stuff that happened in the previous scene.
That was your first missed day.
That was my first missed day. And so then I came back the next day. Okay, fine. But I got paid for that day because I have to pay you for that day because you're on set.
Right.
It doesn't matter that I didn't do anything but sit in my room and knit. I was on set. I was ready to work. I was in full hair and makeup. I had done all the things. They just never got to me. But there was 3 weeks before they could get me back on set.
Right.
That's the only reason I made that much. That show saved our asses.
Yep, absolutely.
In 21.
Whatever year that was.
It was in 21.
It was a couple days ago.
Saved our asses that year. Right? Was it 21? It was 22.
No idea. There was a pandemic in the middle of it. I haven't got
Yeah, I think it was 22.
So.
But there was no other work to be had. So the occasional residual check that pops up sometimes is the difference between us being able to pay our water bill or not. You know, so like people don't think about that. And that's why actors are paid the way they're paid, because of the expectation when you're not actually on set. It's a personal pet peeve of mine. It makes me a little crazy. But people forget that there's a lot of jobs involved, and they forget that how good a film, like a vibrant film and television industry is for the entire town.
Right. It's a lot of money coming in.
It's a lot of money coming in. Like when shows are in town, like restaurants do better, and like the little stores do better because the actors are, you know, on days that they're not on set, they're like, oh, I'm going to wander around Strip District.
They do unless the set's directly in front of.
Unless it's directly in front of your store, which happened with was it Kingstown? It's right in front of our shop. Mm-hmm. So our employee was throwing our soap samples at the casting crew, which is really funny. But what are you gonna do? But there's a lot of money that it's good for our community. So people forget that it's not just about a bunch of selfish actors who don't want to get a real job. Yep. And I'm never more tired at the end of a day than I am after I'm on set all day.
But you're never happier too.
That's true. Well, that's not true. I'm actually happier when I've been on stage all day.
On stage, yes. No, but in general, when you come from having done a day of performance, you come back like, that was cool. There's very much a change in your personality, which again goes back to how I know this is really what you're supposed to be doing. Because when you come back from any other job you've had, you're like, "Yep, that was the day, moving on." Versus you'll come back from these like, "That was cool. I got to do this, and I got to do this, I got to do this," and that person was doing great, and that person, oh my god, what were they doing? Yeah.
So I just did the 8 days in New York last month. 8 days in Manhattan, and you know I did some selfies while I was there. Mm. And I swear to God, I looked 15 years younger just while I was there. And then I come back, and then there's this chaos with the space and miscommunication. And we had to be out of the additional space in 10 days, 6 days of which were really what we had available, because 4 of them, we were driving to Kentucky and back because the kids had to go to their dad's for Christmas. And I looked 100. Like I would look in the mirror, and I looked like I had aged 30 years overnight. So there's definitely something that being in your joy is just good for your psyche, you know.
Yep.
And I'm sure I'm a much more pleasant person to be around.
Yeah.
I told him he's allowed to be as honest as he, like, I told him, I'm like, if you need to rip into me and make me look like an asshole,
you are normally perfectly pleasant at all times.
That's a lie.
Normally, I said. No, but definitely, you can definitely tell when you've had an enjoyment of what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Because it does, like, you know, you can see it in people's faces. I had a coworker who recently retired, and I've seen her since then, and the entire persona has changed, and she just looks better. She's like, I don't have to do the thing I don't like anymore. That's a huge thing. So when you come back and you're doing things that you enjoy, it definitely shows.
I feel like even just the classes. I feel like even just doing the classes.
Oh yeah, when you've had a class, and you're like, that went really, really well. You can see it.
Oh my God!
Absolutely.
I just did this series of classes with Tiffany Little Canfield, who, if you don't know who she is, oh God, Google her. She's amazing and completely terrifying all at the same time. But yeah, I felt like I could conquer the world after having done those. And it was just a class that I was taking in our basement.
Yeah.
Late ass at night, because they were 7 to 10 Los Angeles time.
Right.
So they were starting at 10 o'clock our time, and so I'm trying to act in our basement at midnight.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and in every relationship, there's the person who goes, "Oh, it's 10:30. We should go to bed." And there's sometimes, "Oh, it's only 10:30." I'm very much "Oh, it's 10:30. I'm gonna go to sleep."
Yeah. Yeah. Normally it's like, well, it's 11:30. I'm not really tired yet. I'm gonna go do something.
And I'm just out cold.
Gone. Snoring softly in the distance.
I know.
Yeah.
Snoring not so softly in the distance.
I was being kind.
I know. I am the snore. Well, you also snore.
Of
Our
course.
poor kids.
Oh, that's why I don't sleep on my back. We talk about
kids.
sleep in the stomach so I don't wake myself up. Anyway.
So what advice would you give to somebody who has a spouse or loved one, child, whatever,
Right.
who is interested in pursuing any kind of dream, like whatever it is?
I mean, obviously, it's the biggest thing is just being supportive of it, because understand that it may not be your dream, it may be my dream,
Right.
but knowing this makes you happy, I love you, I want us to be successful. That also involves you being happy. If you were miserable the whole time, that would definitely affect our relationship. If I was miserable all the time, it would affect our relationship.
Right.
Doing things that makes that makes you happy is beneficial for you and anything goes on in your life. So if you have a spouse, if you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, a partner, somebody who is, integral to your world, and they have a dream they want to chase, you want to make sure that you're just saying, cool, let's help. Now, it doesn't mean jump in and do it with them, but making
Although
sure.
sometimes they'll make you.
Sometimes you get voluntold. But there's that.
Stop being beautiful and talented, and I won't make you do
It's
things.
the hair, I know. But anyway, no, it's the support, but it's not the. I think the words for it. It's being supportive about being like overly so. I'm not a cheerleader, though I will cheerlead. I'm not a. I'm not a stage mom.
No.
In that sense, that's the best type of support. That feels like the negative one. It's like, it's almost toxic. But just, you get the best support you can. You get the positive feedback, and you let them try. And if it fails, you're there to help and catch, and you're there to help support if they need something to lean on. Because in the long run, for those of us who don't have the massive, grandiose dreams of, I want to do X, Y, or Z, I don't want to be the president of the United States. I don't want to be an astronaut anymore. I did when I was like 7, but that's a different story. But I don't have those massive things. I'm like, I want to make this day great. I want to do this one skill. Can I learn that? I want to help these people. Can I do that? Those are my dreams. But if you have somebody who has the massive dreams, you just have to kind of support and say, cool, let's help. How can I help? What can I do? And then if there's a failure, you don't make a big deal of it, because there's always failures. There's always step backs. And then you just go, all right, let's go forward again. You keep walking along. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm never sure. I just
Do you see why I married him? What are some pitfalls? Like what are some bad things to prepare, or that you've dealt with, and I won't kick you under the table, and
well, that's good.
I'll move my feet over here.
I have the steel toes on, so we're fine.
No, I mean seriously, like what are some times where it's just really sucked?
I mean, there's always times in general in any relationship, obviously, but like there's times sometimes like we come in like, well, it's money, we don't have any. So there's times when suddenly, oh, where did that $450 go out of our checking account that's now negative?
Yeah,
those are the hard ones. Because do I have to go sell something? Do I need to take another job? Do whatever? There's always that panic. Like, okay, whenever in the mornings, I look at my emails on the phone. It's like, is there something from PNC? Okay, good. That's a level of panic that shows up at times.
We just had a $500 bill that I didn't know was going to happen immediately, and I thought I was going to have time to move it to a different card.
Yeah,
and I didn't.
So that's probably one of the biggest things. Is the money part is the hard part of it, because a lot of people, if they're starting a business or if they're going to these, they have at least some padding, or they have a family that helps with padding.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of doing it. Okay, I got $17.26. What can I do with it?
Yeah.
That's really been the hardest part.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, like, it does suck when you leave. I'm like, but I like having you here.
I like coming home.
That's good. I like when you're home too. But I also understand when you go, that changes, again, it changes your happiness level. See that meter go up a little bit.
I mean, I had agent meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Day before yesterday, so I got home last night.
Yeah,
but I was only gone overnight. It was just one day. I was in
fine.
Manhattan 17 hours.
Yeah. But they were important meetings to have, which could lead to better things down the road. Which again goes back to, yes, there's a monetary expense, but it's a necessary monetary expense to move us forward.
Yeah.
So thus, cool, go do it. It's just hard because sometimes you would get bills coming out. Outside of that, like again, I haven't had the negative pushback from other people. But I think it's the benefit of having the penis.
Yeah.
Having the vagina. It's like, it's so nice you have somebody help you. Or let you.
Let me.
Ugh. But really, I mean, the negatives are minimal. It's just, we just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
I think that also helps too. It also, like, I know me. I know my personality. I am thankfully the person who most of the time, 89.5% of the time or so is like, all right, change, go. Sort of the embodiment of the Pisces. Somebody's told me that. I've been called a chaos fish before. I'm like, what's this? Which is fine. So I do embrace.
He'll get it done. Just don't expect it tomorrow.
That's fine. But I might find something more interesting that I really think I want to do right then. And I'll get back to it because I still want to do it.
I joke all the time that you will do anything on the planet for me except for that one thing I needed you to do today.
And then I'll start singing that song.
I think you'll start singing.
But anyway. Yeah. So.
We make each other crazy.
In a good way. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of it.
So now we have an interesting thing we're at the very, very beginnings of.
Yes.
Our 15-year-old has decided he wants to start doing some stuff as well. He had taken some improv classes.
Right. And he liked those.
And he loved those, but he wouldn't do it in front of me.
He liked them, but he didn't tell us he liked them. But you could definitely tell he liked them.
And his teacher was raving about him. And so, we went to their little showcasey thing, and he would not do it in front of me.
No, refused.
Refused to act in front of me, which is really sad. I'm apparently a little bit intimidating. I don't mean to be. Well, okay, but in my defense,
right.
I made him come with me to a voice lesson the other day.
You did?
Because again, I think I mentioned this man can sing. And so, sing. And I had a callback for Cabaret, and I had to sing a song. And it's like a character song, so it's not like I don't have to sound pretty.
Right.
But I don't like singing in front of him. which is I've sung with him a lot. The microphone in my hand and the drummer behind me. I can do anything. But I made you come with me because I don't like being scared of things. But also, I wanted you to be. I haven't gotten to see you as much lately because I've been working these 16-hour days trying to get the space.
And you knew that I would sit on the side of my phone going, okay, I'm not staring at you. So that way.
But then I could also go, did I embarrass myself? Because I will not listen to my tape.
No, she won't. It's just funny.
And what really cracks me up is people are always like, well, you're so confident. I'm like, ask my voice teacher how confident I am. But again, I love her. She teaches middle school. That's the only reason she can handle me. Yeah. Because she's used to 12-year-old nutcases. But you came with me to that. And anyway, I had appreciated that. So having our 15-year-old now about to embark on this thing, mm-hmm. You might have to be the one to take him because if he won't act in front of me, which is
well, you are. I mean, you are. When it comes to acting, that is your thing, and he knows that. I know that. I don't want to act in front of you because so it's the thing I'm good at, y'all. So here's it. Years ago, I have always been a lover of B movies and bad movies and really horrible things because I don't care. It's like if the storyline's interesting, cool. The acting, yeah, I can get past that. You do not do well with bad acting.
No, I don't. Which, I don't watch a lot of things.
Yes, which unfortunately has made me more judgmental on other things now. Like, damn it. Because I try not to.
I don't believe them now.
But I still enjoy them. But it's like still like I find myself going, Samantha wouldn't like this because of this and this and this and this. Oh, okay.
They indicated that when they.
And so thus then, as you know, if I have to do anything, it's very weird knowing you're in the audience going, okay. I know you're not going to be harshly judgmental on me, at least, because you're like, okay, I have to go home with him. But still, it is.
A couple of years ago, this man did 12 Angry Men.
It was a long ass time ago.
We were still in Washington, so it was at least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But this man who admits to being a hack, admits that he only does, musical theater because it's fun and has done some really terrible things. But this man did 12 Angry Men a couple of years ago. And it was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And I am admittedly harsh, but you and Carve knocked that shit out the park.
Being able to work opposite of Carvajal was huge, though. That was fantastic. He was being able to work with an actor of his level.
Yeah,
because he is
Christian Carvajal is an actor out in Washington who mostly directs. He does a lot of directing.
Yeah.
He's really Carve. I feel like Carve and George are two of the best actors I've ever seen. It's unfortunate that because this business sucks and because they both are kind of unusual looking, don't get as much work as they should because they absolutely should. Those two should never stop working ever.
I mean, I would love to see more of Carve's work.
Can you imagine George and Carve in the same show?
Oh my God. The intensity between the two of them, though.
Oh my God!
It'd be like yours and Christian's egos, combating at our. Anyway, sorry.
Christian Joel and I have a thing. We had a thing. It's been so long. You probably doesn't remember who I am now.
Yeah, it's
but we joke about my ego. My ego's pathetic and sad and cries in the corner all the time, and I just tell her to shut up. So, like, we're doing this anyway. Knock it off.
That's what you tell me. And so that's we're here.
No, so I think it's important to remember. We all know I have this like weird Mark Ruffalo obsession, and it's not because I think Mark Ruffalo is always a fantastic actor. I think he's good, but it's not that. It's that whole like famous 600 auditions thing or 800 auditions or whatever it was, huh?
I think it was 800 if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there he had like a 10-year period where he auditioned hundreds and hundreds of times and didn't book anything and was on the verge of giving up, but his mother was like, don't you dare.
Yep.
And so.
And how many times you told me like, should I?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Especially with the film thing. It's like theater less so, but with the film thing, like there are definitely times where I'm like, am I wasting my time?
So does that make me Mark Ruffalo's mother?
You are Mark Ruffalo's mother.
Fair enough.
Kind of.
All right.
You kind of are Mark Ruffalo's mother. Which I am extraordinarily appreciative of because this business is hard and you can't rely on other actors to be your support system, because they're not. They're not. Like, even ones that are your friends. I had a conversation last night with a friend who's a very, very young filmmaker. I don't even think he's 20 yet. And he was coming to the realization, like, that folks are kind of shady and a little backstabby. And I'm like, you're going to find that. And that's what sucks in this business. I'm like, you have to find those rare people who you can't benefit in some way. Right. Because that's how you'll know who actually is supporting you. Because there are a lot of folks who will pretend like they're in your corner. There are some folks that ever since the soap store closed, I haven't heard a word from, because I no longer benefited them in some way, which is like so depressing, but also not really a surprise. So if you find that you have someone in your corner that supports you no matter how many times you fall on your face, and it might be more than once, and sometimes it might be epic, and sometimes it might be like potentially costing the family the house, which we're working really hard not to, but my lawyer said to be prepared for that fact, so that if it doesn't happen, then that's a pleasant surprise. I don't know what we're going to do. Like, listen, we bought that house 7 years ago for $55,000. You know what I mean? And we didn't put it up as collateral, but if you find somebody who will support you in spite of the occasional epic fuck up, hold on to those people with everything that you have, because they are a unicorn. You know, they're just not out there. They're just not out there. So if you find one, hold on to them with everything that you have, and realize just how lucky you are. That's not the norm, guys. So thank you for being the world's best support system. Thank you for being the guy who makes all the other husbands look bad.
Do what I can.
Thank you for being the Bruce. And thank you for never saying I told you so. So, on that note, a couple quick things. So I'm starting to make swag. I don't know if you can see a little swag. So I'm starting to make swag, and we're really gonna, because we're getting rid of the store. Right. We're gonna take we're gonna try. I love this, and I hope you guys love this. And the now 14 of you who watch this.
We're 14. Oh,
because Steve got me the extra 5.
Steve got the extra. So, okay.
Which I very much appreciated.
That's good. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve, for that. So, so the 14 of you that have been paying attention to this, like, we're looking at expanding it. So I'm looking at doing twice a month. Right. I don't know if I can handle more than that. And I do have a funny tendency to overbook myself a little bit. So I'm going to try not to do that. But so we're going to have some swag available soon. We're going to be looking for sponsorships. So if you know anybody who would like to sponsor, because like I said, this cost me about $150 per episode to do, and it's currently coming out of pocket. Yep.
Even small sponsorships would be
even
great
small,
for you. Yeah.
Even small, like if you want to like buy a bunch of mugs that I can I can make, that would be hugely helpful. Because all the guests are now going to get a mug.
Or you then like roll reels that has like sponsored by XYZ or get
them shout outs during. I can do little ads or whatever for you. Yeah, we can make that happen. I mean, I started listening to Smartlist, and they do like the bad ads, but I can totally do some bad ads for you. Yeah. I can even do some good ones. I'm just saying. So that's the thing. So like, if you know anybody who would be interested in some sponsorship things, I'm going to start like at people. And then probably in the next couple months, we're going to start doing 2 a month. Yep. And then if you are not in the Pittsburgh area, we can do Zoomed versions. So that's a thing that we can do. So if you're interested in being a guest, shoot me a message, and I will put the email in the little description below. And I think that's it. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Even though I've all told you.
Yep.
And keep on dreaming. Thanks.